Well, Coach, I don't know what you majored in college, but you sure didn't show much of respect for history during the course of the week. We were talking all week about how the long jinx against the Raiders hadn't beaten them in 22 years, but how Art Shell hadn't lost at the Coliseum since he's been a head coach. You just blew it completely off. Wouldn't give us a story, nothing, just saying, hey, I don't pay any attention to that stuff.
Well, I'm glad I didn't know about it. It would have made me nervous because, but we don't read those kinds of things. And certainly if history had any effect on the future or the present, then there wouldn't have been any sense going out there. But these guys believe that we could go out there and play a good football game and win, and we did it, and we're proud of the fact we did.
Once again, I know you'll say that it's just an X in the win column as much as beating Tampa Bay or beating any team on the schedule would be, but there's a different feeling in the air when you go to the West Coast, a tough place to win, and beat a team that's on top in their division.
Well, certainly they're a fine football team, and they weren't 6-2 before we played them by accident. We thought they were a very talented football team. And certainly when you can go out there and you can make a long trip like that and play a good, sound football game, and I think that's what I'm most proud of. We went out there and played a good football game. We didn't win it by any fluke. We went out there and outplayed them for most of the football game, and that has to give you a good feeling about yourself.
I think if before the ball game you sat and thought to yourself, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? It probably could have been much worse than what did happen to start off the ball game. Raiders' first play, they go deep with the bomb, and you get the pass interference call against Jerry Holmes.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the call, certainly, but I don't want to get fined. I can't afford to do that. But they did. This was their trademark. They like to go deep with the football, and we really never gave up a real big play in the game. And this one here was just an interference call that was called on Jerry. But, you know, it was one of those things. You're going to get some of those and some of them you're not. And it set up a short touchdown for him. And, you know, you're saying, wow, you know, what's going to happen here? What else can go wrong at this point? And sure enough, something else did.
Well, I thought it was important, though, that right away you got the ball back and you kept it for over 7 minutes, drove down. You only got 3 out of it, but you used up a lot of time off the clock and basically said to the Raiders, hey, we're not just going to lie down, we're going to come at you smash mouth type of style.
Well, I think we realized, too, we took the ball in the next series, drove down, got a field goal, made it 7-3, and I think at that point we realized we could play with these guys. Our defense hadn't really been on the field yet, so they hadn't found out yet, but offensively we felt good about what we had gotten done on the next drive.
Michael Haddock's on the drive had a big performance, 13 yards in this carry.
Mike really ran the ball well. Our offensive line gave him some holes inside, and you know, we had a few plays that we went to the line of scrimmage and changed, and Don did a nice job in that regard, and it resulted in a field goal, but we did a nice job on that drive.
So it seemed like the momentum was back. You had stuffed him once on the kickoff, penalty wiped it out, and Jamie Holland takes it the other way.
This is unfortunate. We had a few guys that had a shot to make some tackles, and we just didn't do it. And this is a great effort by Leroy Butler. You got to, you know, you ran the guy down at about the 2-yard line, and, you know, if you can do that, you never know. They might fumble on the next play, but that was a great effort just to stop him there.
The extra point was blocked, so it was 13-3. That seemed like it might be a big factor, you know, down the course of the ball game.
Well, we certainly felt like it was a little bit of a momentum changer, if you would, when you can block a kick like that. But we went back and checked the statistic sheet this morning. I think we had the ball in the first quarter 13.5 minutes, and they had 13 points on the board, so it was kind of a crazy first quarter.
It was the type of ball game from that point on where their defense would have to make some big plays. It's exactly what happened. Sean Patterson, who'll be our guest a little bit later, comes through.
Well, Sean had 2 sacks on the afternoon, and this one here was just a big one because it knocked Schrader loose from the ball, and we recovered the football down at the 20-yard line, and that led to a field goal. Our defense turned the ball over at their end of the field 3 times. Unfortunately, we didn't put any of them in the end zone, but we kicked 3 field goals, so there were 9 points created by our defense turning the ball over.
Offensively, the one thing that really stood out was the success on 3rd down plays. Play coming up right here, 3rd and 14. You hit Sterling for 24.
Well, just a real nice job here by Don. He was going up the middle, and the safeties closed it off, and he went back to his secondary choice and hit Sterling, and of course Sterling does what he does so well, and that's run after the catch, and came back and set up a touchdown here. Don, real nice fake to the right, fooled everybody virtually. We had both the receivers open, and Don picked Vince Workman there for the touchdown.
Were you worried? They came back to tie it up at halftime. Were you worried, a little bit reminiscent of the San Francisco game where you play a tough first half and the other team scores right before the half?
Not really. I think the confidence level in the locker room at the halftime was pretty solid. I think we felt like we had outplayed them, and it had not been for those 2 big plays early in the game that we would have been in control of the game at that point.
Okay, you come out in the second half. 5 seconds into the second half, things really turn your way.
Well, they went right to throwing the football here one time, and of course Johnny Holland picks this one off, and I think that Brian Noble was probably upset because he would have got it if Johnny didn't get it. And then a great run. We might have to move him to running back the way he's running the football right here, but just refused to go down, took the ball down to the 10-yard line. We got it to about the 3-yard line, 4-yard line, and then Jackie makes another field goal. So we went right back ahead at that point, 19-16.
Defense really took control from that point on.
Well, we said going all week into the game that we had to play physical with these guys because it's what they pride themselves in. If you go out there and you out-hit a football team that prides itself in doing that type of thing, you got a good chance to set the tempo, and we did that.
You still had to put some more points on the board to get some sort of a cushion. Once again, third down plays, 3rd and 19, this time to Perry Kemp.
Well, our third down efficiency in this game was 50%, and going into the game, they'd only given up about 31% against them. So, and this was a nice job by Don scrambling up in the pocket and finding Perry, who was his secondary choice on that particular play, and then came right back in the drive with a little bootleg play that was very effective, and Don threw a perfect strike to Perry Kemp.
Nice for Perry having a game like this, isn't it, after last week, the way it ended?
Well, sure, and we have great confidence in Perry, and like I said after the game last week, that fumble at the end of the football game really had no bearing on that football game. There were a lot of other plays that we could have made in that game to have won that one.
So you're up by 10 with about 8 minutes left to go in the ball game. You really or 11 minutes left to go in the ball game. You got the ball back. Really had to chew some time off the clock. You ate up almost 8 minutes worth. Again, a lot of big third down plays. 3rd and 5 right here.
We converted 3 third down in relatively long situations in the drive, but this was probably one of the most important drives of the game, and it didn't produce any points. We started on our 20. That was Clarence Weathers catching a pass right there, and then Don runs a quarterback draw here against a defense that we had worked on that particular play for. But in this particular drive, we took the ball and gave it back to them at the 12-yard line after starting off on our 20, and then subsequently we end up picking off a pass here, and Jerry does another great job running the ball down the boundary here and getting the ball back way down in there into the field again, and this again results in another field goal.
Chris Jackie, what can you say about him?
Well, he's the biggest beggar I've ever seen in my life, is what he is. I'll be very honest, I was getting ready to just run another play there and give them the ball back at the 3 or 4 yard line, and Chris came running over to me and gave me 5 fingers like that, and I thought he was just waving at me. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, 5, 5, 5, 5, and I said, "What's that mean?" He said, "Well, the record's 5, and I said, "Okay, go out there and kick the thing." So he begged his way into that one, but I'm glad he got it because he did a great job all day kicking for us.
Helps the confidence level having a guy like that behind you.
First UFO recovery operation.